Our final patient advocate, Kristen McDonald, had a dream of becoming an actress in Hollywood, but at age 29, she discovered that she had the degenerative eye condition, retinitis pigmentosa. Despite the odds, Kristen created a second vision for herself, and today is a speaker and author. She'll tell you that though her eyesight is poor, her vision is perfect. Please join me in welcoming Kristen McDonald, whose talk is entitled Second Vision.
Good evening. It is my great honor to be here tonight, to be a part of this conference, and to have been asked to speak to all of you. You know, being blind is a little tricky sometimes when you travel by yourself. For instance, the security guard at the hotel brought me back to the room after a workout this morning, and he said, "No problem, I've got the key, I'll open it." So he took me into the room and put down my tea and my hard-boiled eggs, and he said, "Well, there's your water bottle." And I thought, gee, that's not my water bottle, but maybe the housekeeping left it there. So he left, and I thought I could finally relax and get ready for this talk. And I went into the bathroom and discovered a big mess, and I thought, God, what did I do? Excuse me. It was only then that I ran to the phone and called housekeeping and asked why she hadn't been there, only to discover that I was in the wrong room. So I was very, very lucky and fortunate that I got myself together and I wasn't arrested for prowling around someone's room. So before I share my second vision with you, I'd like to share my first vision with you, because the mind, body, and spirit go together. And as a scientist, I think it's important to get a perspective on what a patient goes through when they get a diagnosis. When I was in my mid to late 20s, I did have this wonderful dream of becoming an actress and a television host in Hollywood. And I prepared for it and longed for it, and I moved to the West Coast. And at that age, I'm sure you can relate, in your 20s, life is your oyster. You know, maybe in your case, you hope to become a scientist, a doctor, a professional of some sort. And life doesn't always turn out that way for all of us. So during this time, I was working in Hollywood, but I was gaining a reputation of being a little ditzy and a little legally blonde before I discovered I was really legally blind. And after the second broken arm, you know, I was on a soap opera, had a reoccurring role on a soap opera called Santa Barbara, and I broke my arm at the cast party. That was the second time I had broken a limb from being ditzy. And I went to the eye doctor only to discover that I might have a brain tumor or a condition called retinitis pigmentosa that would eventually cause me to go blind. And I'll never forget that day coming out of the eye doctor. You know, it was compounded by the fact, I'm sure he meant well, but this doctor lacked bedside manner. And when I started to cry after the second opinion that I got, and I was sitting in this doctor's chair, he said, you know, you've got to buck up and just deal the deck that life has dealt you. I guess it was just an inept way of knowing how to deal with the situation, but that day was so critical for me, because I remember driving home on Hollywood Boulevard and the tears were streaming down my face, and I heard this voice screaming only to discover it was my voice. So when you're at that age and you have this vision for your life and suddenly somebody takes a pin and bursts it, you know, like a big balloon, it was rather devastating. So I had to look within and eventually get what I called my PhD in going blind, because going blind doesn't come with an instruction manual, but it does come with a lot of schooling and mobility training and learning how to cook when you can't see, and learning everything on audio, taking computer lessons, and trying to organize your life, your apartment, and I still haven't gotten the socks right. And it really came with a lot of changes in my life, too, in terms of my career. And I eventually got out of denial, which is a dangerous place, and went into gratitude for what I do have in life, and started raising money in the community and trying every single thing out there, researching it. but there didn't seem to be much. Every year I'd hear, we're working on it. So I feel very grateful to be standing here to tell you that I'm now, my world is a lot brighter this year, thanks to an injection of stem cell progenitor cells in my left eye last June. And I want to tell you, to describe what it's like, that, you know, my eyesight has been failing me over a number of years, and what happens with RP is it's just like a big, beautiful picture that just slowly fades. All the color fades, and it becomes almost like a tunnel, and then suddenly the faces of the people that you love in front of you are gone, and everything that you once knew just kind of disappears. Oops, excuse me, like the microphone. Last year, I got a phone call saying that I would be one of the first patients to have this injection in my left eye. And 1 year later, 12 months later, I can honestly tell you that my bad eye, which has never had an improvement, has made a significant improvement in terms of light perception. I can finally see the mascara and the movement of my left finger on the left side, and that's very important as a woman because I once put my black eyeliner all over my lips thinking that it was my lip pencil. When I go outside, I feel the need for sunglasses right away now, which I didn't before. And I know this is not a placebo effect because I was in a study years ago and I didn't have any improvement. So being in a study and being a patient advocate now is very important to me to relate to you as a scientist and doctor the kind of work that you're doing and the importance of it and the effect that it has on someone's life like mine. Getting a condition like retinitis pigmentosa, it's a small community of people. It's about 100,000 people, I think, in the U.S., and it can be very devastating because year after year all you hear is, I'm sorry, we're working on it. But this is exciting for me because I hope that there'll be a stage 2 trial and then I'll get retreatment. And even if nothing else, if it's stopped it in its tracks and it's given you people some idea of where to go from here, for someone with RP, that's huge. It's really made a significant difference in my life. You know, over the years, I tried to go within and to create a second vision to help other people to create a better vision for their life when their first vision failed. And it didn't, you know, RP didn't come without obstacles. I fell down a flight of stairs head first before I gave in to the white cane, and tried to keep my sense of humor, worked on a book called 100 Blind Dates, and finally met a wonderful man. But I ask you as a scientist and a professional and a researcher and all the people involved in this room in this wonderful conference to stay motivated. I want to suggest that you do a little meditation either tomorrow morning or when you get home, and just take 5 minutes and shut your eyes and just imagine what it would be like to be blind. How would you get dressed? How would you find your food? How would you get to work? How would you answer your emails? How would you socialize? How would you live your life? How would you live out the vision that you had once hoped for? And I do this from time to time and pretend that I'm deaf because life could have been a lot worse. Helen Keller had it much harder than me. But I know that Helen Keller had a wish, and I also have a wish to see the faces of my beautiful family again. 2 of my nephews are here tonight. To see the face of the wonderful man that I'm dating, to see the eye chart again, to be able to walk across a room by myself. And so I want to thank you, ISSCR, for asking me to speak tonight, Americans for Cures for their wonderful advocacy work, CIRM for the grants that they're providing and encouraging all the scientists and doctors to come here. And let me leave you with one thing, please, and that is that if life has one plan for you and you've set out with a vision of your life, but it doesn't turn out that way, get brave and embrace the very thing that terrifies you, and it could bring you to some very exciting places like where I'm standing tonight. Thank you.